Yeah, beautiful pink.
Welcome back, Frank. Frank Soonius, our uh, fellow that's the dream driver from Amsterdam, author of Trapped in a Dream. And it's always such a delight to be back. This is interview number 5, because when we got started in this, Frank, we thought, well, we'll just do
Already.
an interview. And then it grew because of my time in prison didn't match your time in prison. Quite different story. And recognizing that we all create our own prison. So that's where we're coming from. Sandra's prison, Frank's prison, and bouncing back and forth. So of you out there in Zoom land and listening, that's what our conversations are about. So setting us up for today, Frank. I'm just going to read a little bit here about all the time desperate. All the time desperate. Hear the screaming of the other inmates, the new inmates and others needing someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Helping someone else by telling them, oh, you can handle it. It's only 10 years, you know. You can do it. Like, really, what a circus. You know, and I know that there's nothing more precious than our freedom. Freedom. Everything else comes after that. Our freedom. So, Frank, you ended up saving lives while planning your own suicides with an S on the end, because prison is a desperate, desperate place. And it seems to me that the world comes crashing in. Your freedom is definitely gone. The world is crashing in. And 10 years or 11 years or a lifetime, like, why keep living? And so the suicide attempts continue. But it was really interesting if you can go where you choose to go with this suicide business, about how you kept planning yours. What did you do? And then they kept getting interrupted, saving somebody else because they were planning theirs. I'm going to give it over to you here, Frank. You take us where you want on this suicide business here.
Well, for me, when I pray, and I pray always in myself. Praying is talking with yourself and answering yourself. So that's really praying. You know, if people say, you know, what is praying? I say talking with yourself and finding better answers. And when I come to realize that I was in prison, and I saw prison as a reward of, I tried to end my life already before I came to prison. I didn't want to live anymore.
Oh, wow.
And when somebody gives you then a beautiful Bondi Beach, koala bear, Australia trip, oh my God, this must be heaven on earth. You know, the only thing I saw that 24 hours in the plane to Australia was koala bears, and all my problems when I step out, it's the koala bear who's gonna save my mind, will bring me back to reality. And you know, and when you really believe that for 24 hours, you feel amazing. But reality hits, and when reality hits is when I came at the airport, and well, that story is already told. You know, you go to prison, and then you come to realize, oh my God, what is this? You know, I tried to finish my life because I had enough, and then holiday, 11 years for freedom, for free in prison. Well, that's the reward, you know, for not wanting to live anymore. And it's really strange that I'm telling you this, but that's my conclusion now, with all the beautiful people from Prisoners Fellowship who told me this. God did the best thing he could do in your situation, Frank. Wow. He put you away and saved your life. Because if I was not stopped there and then, what would have happened? You know. So He needed me to go into prison. I needed to go there. And then the people will come. What I did with all the other prisoners, helping them listen to their stories, well, I was always hoping that one day somebody will look behind my mask and say, hey, listen, Frank, stop acting. Who is Frank? It's time to be yourself.
Wow.
And that happened in jail. And he saw no other way anymore, because of course I failed suicide attempt, because that belongs to me, you know. I failed. Of course I failed, because I wanted to live.
And it's interesting, Frank, that in your book and in our talks, probably not in the interviews themselves, but so many times when you're working with your people, you're saying, you know, you have to learn to fail. You have to fail, because without failing, you're not going to go forward. And that's what the failed suicide attempts are for so many people. It's really painful for the families when they're successful in that. But those are the smaller numbers versus the ones that attempt. The attempts are many, many more than the...
But it was so beautiful that Chris guy from Prisoners Fellowship told me, hey, Frank, see it as a reward of God stopping you to do crazy things, because there are better things waiting for you. And we will go there, because my worst time came after prison. After prison, the first 6-7 months were even worse.
And that is our next interview.
I know. So that's why I go there, because, oh my God, I had to find out that, yeah, we will go there. We will go there, because that's
there next time. Yes.
I know.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And it's really critical. That session's going to be so critical, just for even all of us on the outside, to understand people coming out of prison, what they're going to have to then survive, which is a whole, I thought I had my freedom, but man, getting around in the world isn't very free when I have all this encumbrances. But anyhow, yes, let's stay in prison right now. Your suicides, how you helped others, and that whole circus. And
the best thing I did, and I stacked away pills I should have taken, because those pills were to let me sleep. And if I had slept, you start thinking differently. But the most stupid thing is to not take the medication if people think this medication is going to help you, because the doctor who gave you that medication saw that I needed to sleep. I needed to stop that brain of thinking. What did I do? I stacked them as a safeguard. If it all comes too much, I always still have my pills. So, you know, it was for me more something behind. And, you know, when it worst come to worst, I can always take the tablets and, you know, I stop it. So it's my simple
your security blanket. Your security blanket.
Yeah. And when I told this to the people from Prisoners Fellowship, they didn't even call me out. They didn't even go to the officers and told me that I had stacked away those pills. Because what? I will tell you because of what. The psychiatrist who heard the story after I told him what I've done, he said, well, Frank, even if you had taken 300 pills, it didn't work, because the poison out of the tablets is taken away. So, of course, you feel horrible, but you don't die.
Oh.
But I thought 80 tablets must be enough. Well, he said, well, if you had used 300, was not enough. It's a mix. Yeah, it's a mix of certain tablets who can do the trick. But here in Holland, it's really, really difficult to find pills where you can overdose and take your own life with. But I'm so happy that I didn't know this, because otherwise I was in panic, because I had those 80 tablets stacked away, and that was for security when the worst was coming, and I was living already the worst. But you know, I was always thinking there must be something more in prison, and of course there is. But before that, what I noticed is the people, just like Sister Maria from Salvation Army, who came to visit me, the people, the nurses who start talking to me, the real attention of people who saw the best in you that you didn't see for a long time in yourself. And they showed me, hey, listen, you're still that successful basketball player. You're still that successful coach. You're still that research marketer. Only at the moment, you don't see it anymore. But, it's still there. And that what really helped. I found the people in prison who showed me, hey, Frank, it is not over. It's only the beginning. Just like the psychiatrist said, life is a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we're all in the middle. Guess what? We're all in the middle. Everybody is in the middle.
That's right.
Because you don't know if you become 100 or 105 or, what it's possible. At the moment in Holland, oh my God, the aging is incredible. 5-6 years more, longer. And so there is no, say, 80 or 90. You don't have a clue.
Yeah, I'm heading for 100. I always thought I had 105 in mind. That would do my mother, that would be the reason. Yeah. And somebody said, no, I think it was Dr. Marina said, no, it's 120 now. Oh my, I'm just in the middle.
And the best thing to become 105 is doing what you love. Is really finding out what belongs to you and living it to the fullest with all the passion. That's the only way to become 105, doing what you love and not what other people expect from you, doing what you like.
And that's where the failures come through, are all our expectations that we think other people are expecting of us, and they are. But we don't have to take that on, and we don't have to put our expectations on others. And it sounds nice and easy. It's simple, but it ain't easy to get our noses out of everybody else's business and let everybody else's business get out of ours. Yeah, that's the prison, isn't it? But
the moment you can see the switch in your people around you, people who understand you, and you have to go to prison to find those people who work with prisoners, who knows what to say. The first one who said, hey, listen, you're still a successful basketball player. You still, and you've forgotten that because that failure, that last failure is hunting you down. But it's not true because it's, you have to fail to build up a resume. You need that resume of failures to find out what belongs to you. You need that resume. You need that, that resume that you give to somebody who wants to hire you. Well, I did this. Well, that was not mine. I did this, but that was not mine. But guess what? This is mine. This is for me. This is it. So please hire me. I'm amazing. Yeah. Hire me. I'm amazing.
I love that we can laugh, Frank, because both of us in our own pains went through our own hell, like everybody else out there, if they will acknowledge it. But they don't have to stay there. There is another life if we look back and look at what the challenges were and how we overcame them. There's that same vision for them, which is called living our own best life. Our own. Frank be Frank, Sandra be Sandra. I can't be Oprah. You can't be whoever.
Yeah. I tried everybody. I tried.
We all tried all of that nonsense. The journey to self is such an amazing trip, and you only see it in hindsight. So you have to live full now so that you've got something to look back and say, there was a turning point. So how did this circus of suicides go for you? Like, have you got a couple stories of people that you talked down and then you had to delay your own?
Yeah, and I told you offline already that one day I really, really decided this is enough. You know, I heard something incredible in prison. I heard how somebody kidnapped a young child of 9 years old, Samantha Knight. The story is all over the world, and drugged her, used her, and he said it was an accident. He gave her too much sleeping tablets. Well, we all know that sleeping tablets cannot kill. So, you know, I think because she recognized the guy, he was in shock, and he probably strangled her. And I can say that now because I did those interviews with 60 Minutes in Australia, and I know for sure that he killed her because when she woke up a little bit out of the sleeping tablets, she noticed it was Michael Geider doing those horrible things with her when she had the pain. And that story, oh my God, you know, I was completely in shock when somebody tells you something like this. And he only told me this because, and that's really important, I went to Prisoner's Fellowship. And I met some beautiful guys who came really to help the inmates. And I told it to Michael, and I didn't know what Michael was in for, but I told him, if you come clear with God, it's in Thessalonians 6 or dingen, I said, well, you have to come clear and then you're forgiven. And he said, I will never be forgiven, Frank. I said, why not? Well, if I tell you I stay the rest of my life in prison. I said, well, what can be worse than having sex, how do you call it, charges, 60 sex molestation sex charges and doing 16 years. What can be worse? He said, well, you don't want to know. And I said, well, I don't want to know. But he told me anyway, only to clear his own
conscience.
And he gave it to me.
Mm.
Well, I couldn't handle that. That was really the drop. I couldn't handle it. And then I put all the letters of my mother on the bed, and I opened the table legs, and I took the tablets and started taking them. And I think I was halfway. And I also had my ID card, and I made some cuts. And guess what? They had decided that I had to go to another prison. So that truck was leaving in the middle of the night because it was 12 hours drive. So they came knocking on my door and they told me to take my stuff and be ready. Well, I didn't react. So they opened the door and they found unconscious Frank. And well, I'm here. And that must also be something that's not, it's not a surprise because it also belongs to me. You know, they just decided to take me out of that prison because they had some other beautiful prison waiting for me. And guess what? That was a much better prison where they brought me. So yeah, they still took me after a week in the hospital. They emptied my stomach, they put some bandages over my wounds, and they did some stitches, I think 12. And well, I failed again because I was not quick enough, or, you know, but it's, for me now, it's all, I'm not going to say in the book, it's all written down already. It's not in my book, but I had things to do. And, you know, that's why they knocked on the door at 3 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock in breakfast. And so they found me 4 hours earlier and with enough blood in myself still that I could come back and be the dream driver now. And that's really a beautiful story. But it's more than a story because I know I've seen so many people going in body bags out of the prison because they succeeded. and they couldn't find a way out. But there is a way out. There is really a way out. And the only thing is to find those people around you who really, really believe in you. And for me, it was Sister Mary, who I never met in my life. It was people from Prisoners Fellowship. It was beautiful guards who were doing more than their work. There are so many beautiful things happening. But I'm telling you this now because I'm out already 20 years. So it's a different story then and there. But I can now analyze it and say, it had to happen. It had to happen the way it happened.
That's amazing, Frank. This is the depth of life that most people are afraid to go to. And yet in the going to it and the looking back, not to stare, but the going back to understand where all these threads came that create who we are today. That's a beautiful thing, even with the pain. You know, I mean, if we look at a tapestry with all the beautiful rainbow colors, there's lots of black and dark brown in there too, because how would the colors stand out without the dark?
Exactly.
You know, it would not be beautiful. The other thing that really caught me, I wanted to mention, but you were in a beautiful space and I didn't want to interrupt. But I remember when I understood grace. I think I might have mentioned, I've mentioned it before, but I remember I was always kind of going on, what's this grace? What's this grace? It was never making sense until finally, because I'd been thinking on it, I was walking along the trail by the water and all of a sudden it hit me. Like the air, the sun, the trees, the birds. I mean, that's grace. I get to breathe and walk and see all of this stuff. And I don't earn it. I don't deserve it. It just is. It just is. It's grace. And then what you came across with was this man who had literally dumped his stuff to clear his conscience on you, and you couldn't hold it. Now I understand the letting it go and the giving it away in a different way. So I know we're going into the biblical side here. It doesn't matter who your God is or that bigger source or universe, you know, what religion it is. It's not about a religion by name, but the knowing that there's a bigger source out there and we can hand it over. We have to let it out and hand it over and let it go up into the universe.
It's like Sister Mary always said. Sister Mary was from the Salvation Army. And Amazing Grace was always, she was always doing this.
Me too, yeah.
And she was always with Amazing Grace. And then she said, see, there's a rebirth. You know, see the ground, see the trees again, Frank. You are born again. You are so lucky. You are so lucky that you can be born again. And guess what, Sandra? I'm going to be honest with you. I thought only, you crazy old fool. You're full of it. Because I couldn't connect the dots, what she was trying to do. But now I know what she was doing. And telling you this now is goosebumps.
Yeah, me too.
Goosebumps everywhere. Because I only looked at her. What are you doing here, crazy old bitch? Go away, you know, because you're angry at the world. You're locked up. You're in handcuffs, in a chair, talking with somebody who cannot walk without a walking rack. And you thought, what do you want from me? Leave me alone.
That must be what the guys sometimes think of me going into prison. Who do you think you are, you old fart?
Yeah, exactly. But because you're so
angry at the bloom where you're planted. Don't wait till you leave. You might be dead tomorrow. I might be dead going home. Live today, even if you're here in prison.
But now I know that Sister Mary is the most beautiful, beautiful thing I met in my whole life, I think.
Wow.
She couldn't even walk. She needed 70 million to do 700 steps with a walking rack to come up the prison in the Blue Mountains. You know, and she did it every day. And she was talking to me every day. Look at this, look at water, look at the ground, look at the beautiful trees. And I thought, what are you whinging about? Please leave me alone. But finally, guess what? She came through. She came through. You know, all those weeks, she hit me. She hit me, really hit me, and gave me another chance. She gave me another chance.
What a beautiful story.
Yeah, it's in the book.
It's in the book. One day you're going to get that book over here in Canada.
Oh yeah, it will come there. I'm so busy with doing those things to try to find a way to have a depot in Canada or in Australia, to have a depot, send them all in one go and send them out from there. It's
Well,
much.
maybe Frank, you just have to mail one to me and I'll just pay the postage.
I know, but oh my God, you know, it's so costly, but it's all good. I always thinking about other people, and now Caroline said, "Hey Frank, if they want the book, they will get the book. Stop looking for solutions. Send them the book." And she's so right. But then I think, oh my God, if you have to pay so much money for my book, you know, is it, you know? But then she said, well, it's worth it, so don't worry.
Yeah.
That's fine. But that's typical me, thinking of other people. If people ask the book, they know there are costs. If you buy something with Amazon, you have to buy the cost of sending the book.
Yeah, that's right.
That's me. Thank you.
Oh, we're slow learners sometimes.
Yeah, we are. I am. I'm not talking for you, but I am for sure. To make sure that I'm doing it wrong, you know, to make sure that I'm doing it wrong.
I think that's why we hit it off so well. Let me just look back here on my notes a little bit.
Yeah, please.
The rest of it was, how do we survive such hell? What are the depths of strength and insanity? Strength and insanity that let us survive such torture, because I think it is a mix. Surprisingly, it's talking to others to stop and reconsider their options so that others don't do themselves in, and that serves us. I know when I used to go to AA open meetings and Al-Anon and so on, being in service to others was the answer, because it got us past our own stuff and we're busy with them. Killing ourselves, here's where you said killing ourselves is really something difficult. Pills and all the others, and you've touched on that. Like, killing ourselves is not that easy. It's not that easy. We have to have something. If we're going to do it, we have to do it in some guaranteed fashion, and then somebody comes along that needs a little saving and help, and we have to delay it again. And it was all about the games people play. You said, now it's enough. 600, 700 days. That's when prison fellowship came along, and that's where you've been talking about now. Oh, here's the other thing. I know you mentioned that your mother's letters were on the bed, and you had an old girlfriend who was waiting for you. She was waiting for you on the outside, and her letters. I think people don't understand, whether it's families and somebody that has them inside, to be forgotten inside has got to be crushing. And to be able to receive that letter, to receive that touch of home, really is a lifesaver. How did the letters from mom and the letters from the girlfriend help you?
Oh, they were everything. They were everything. And guess what? Even the guards were waiting for the letters of my mother with all the stickers and all the things she put inside the envelope. She was sending so many beautiful stickers on the paper, and they have to open it and they have to look at it. That's their duty. But guess what? Sometimes somebody said, "Oh, Frank Soonius had a new postcard. Oh my God, he's so amazing." So they knocked on my door and came to see my letters, and that's also how the contact started. That people as guards see you as a human being, and of course that's your duty. But guess what? The moment they have the key, something changes in their mind, you know. Locking people up is for some people terrible. If you give me that job of locking people up, you have to pay me $1 million. And I still don't take the job, I think, because I think it's when you put somebody in and he closes the door for another 12 hours, I could not do that. I could not do that. And, you know, you have to block that out. But, you know, I'm not sure. If you offer me $1 million, I have a good talk with them and then I lock them up. But, but.
And in some ways, I mean, you already know from your own stories that if you were that guard with the key to lock them up, you would also have the humanity to help them discover themselves again. So it would be a matter of, are you a conscious guard or an unconscious guard?
Exactly. And that's when you find your duty. Otherwise, if you're a guard who only locks up and do their duty, then you're not doing what you love. Then you're not doing what you're meant to do. Then you're only making money because you can't do nothing else. But if you really do it because you want to, do the good thing. And so many guards did the good thing. And probably I made them a little bit softer by all those letters and all those things they saw, you know, the attention. And guess what? It was helping both ways. They started to see that if I do a little bit more, give a little bit more attention. But guess what? The good guards in jail always get hit, always get the punishment. So it's difficult. It's difficult to give a little bit more to the inmates and then something happens. So they have to be careful and they have to be
on their guard. It's the same like as a volunteer going in, where nothing in, nothing out type of thing, and how innocently and how easily I could do some little thing, or if I do something for one or two guys that I kind of, you can't call it favoritism, but you still, there's an attraction there. They're involved in music or whatever, you know, there's something there. Well, I would just like to give you this sheet music. Well, you can't. So it's a very slippery slope. So I understand the system needing to keep the guards from wandering too far. And it's hard for the guard to know when can he give here and not be setting some other prisoner up for jealousy and then a shank going in. And it's a crazy world. It's just that it's all condensed into that one little space. And out here in this world, it's the same crazy world. We're just spread out further. We don't know when it all goes. I'm just watching the time there a little bit. So Frank, I know I'm happy that you failed enough times on those suicide attempts.
Me too. Thank you.
To save a whole bunch of others that got saved from doing their suicides, because now you didn't have time to do yours, and they may be helped when they didn't have time to do this. The craziness. I've just put in here that communication, contact, and community are such a difference in everyone's lives, whether you're in prison or not. And next week, we're going to talk about life on the outside again.
Yeah. Very, very, very important, because, oh my God, we can win so much there. There is so much to win over there, you know. When I came, okay, we're not going there, but
next week we're going there.
I know we're going there, but for today, it's so many people say to me, Frank, you must be so strong. And then I say, well, I was lucky. I was really lucky. And then people say, you're not lucky. You deserve this. And that's exactly how I look at it now, you know, and that's why I'm doing the things I'm doing. You know, it's like Nick Vujicic, you know, born with no arms and legs and thought he had no say in this world. And guess what? You know, he found his purpose and he found his passion. So we all have to go their journeys. And well, Nick had to be born with no arms and legs. Well, you know, for me, you know, every time I feel a little bit like, oh, I'm drifting off, I'm doubting too much, you know, I think of Nick. For me, it's so much. And there are now people who think about me. When they're drifting off, they think, oh my God, if Frank can do it, I can do it easier. And that's really the truth. But there is no ranking. Let me be clear. there is no ranking of pain, of suffering, there is no ranking. Your pain is, where can we rank it? There is no ranking.
No. And that's a hard thing to accept, because in many of my healing times, because I went to a Shalom weekend 3 times, and I went to several other things too, but every time I was there was 8 participants in the guide. And I remember I was usually the only one that hadn't been sexually molested and beaten and so on. And I remember thinking, I shouldn't be here. I'm taking up space for somebody that needs it, and they were the ones that said, no, Sandra, your emotional pain is harder to see. At least we've got the bruises. We know. But when it comes to the emotion, and they were the ones that said, no, you belong here. You need what you need. And they were the ones that helped me start to understand, because it didn't come quickly and easily, because I kept thinking, I'm not worth, I shouldn't be getting this help, So
I found a solution. I found a solution for that. We should all, when we go out, put a sign on our back what our biggest problem is. And then, because there are no signs, Sandra, nobody shows their real signs. When we know, we must be always kind, because so many signs we don't see.
Mm.
I'm molested, I'm this, I'm living in depression. We don't see it on the outside, on the back. So it's much easier to label somebody, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're also doing. That's wrong. That's really wrong. We label everybody. We put them in the box. You're mental this.
You know what it is? It's labeling, and once we label, it's for permanent. That's the challenge. So just labeling this issue or that issue just temporary, without the label, at least we would know where to head into.
So many people cannot connect the dots at the moment, but guess what? They can be like me. They can be brilliant.
Brilliant and a genius overnight.
Me, brilliant. Please leave me alone. I'm only Frank who survived, and that's it. That's all. And that's brilliant enough to survive.
That's brilliant enough.
And we're still here.
Frank, it's such a delight as always. We're coming in on, we're a little over time. You and I can't quite get finished.
No, we can't. Sorry for that, but we
no. I love it. And I like to get my bit in there as well. And my friend will say, Sandra, you're talking too much. We want to hear from Frank.
No. I love it. I love it. I love the connection. I love the interaction, because it's helping me. So, we're helping everybody, and we're helping ourselves. So
absolutely. Thank you so much, Frank. I'm going to stop this recording, and next week we're life on the outside.
We do.
Thank you so much, Frank.
Thank you, Sandra.